What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It is Sunday, January 16th, and we are going to wrap up. If you're watching on YouTube, of course. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, smash the alert button. You'll get notified when we go live. If you're listening on an audio platform, it is probably Monday, January 17th. We're going to recap all of Sunday's action from the wild card round. Of course, there's a Saturday recap in the feed already, and we will be back again on Monday for the season that never ends to recap all the Cardinals and Rams game. Joining me to break down what was some good football. There was some good football played by some teams.
Yeah.
Ryan Wilson and John Breech. What's up, boys?
A couple things. The commenters and the listeners on the YouTube chat, the viewers need to realize I am never late. I'm always early. People blame me. Typically, Brinson just meanders in when he figures out what he's doing, and Breech is quote unquote writing. So if we're ever late starting, it's because Breech is saying he's writing things.
They all know. Yeah, they know that. They know that.
I'm just reading the comments and telling you what I read.
Are they claiming it's you?
And also, if I was the one who was always late, that's what I would say. I would deflect blame on everyone else. So just think about that one.
And one other thing. We talked about, I defended Breech almost to the death yesterday, and the Raiders, the whistle, Bengals gate.
Thanks again, Ryan.
And if you want to see that on YouTube, it's on YouTube. It's a fun watch. I was mercilessly taken to task for defending Breech as Breech just stood. I was the guy who broke up a fight where Breech got mugged, and Breech just stood back while the mugger turned his ire on me and beat the crap out of me.
That's what you do. It's like when a bear's chasing you, if you're faster than the other guy, you're safe.
Lesson learned. But no one liked my take that, no one being Raiders fans. They didn't like the idea that the play should have been reversed, even though clearly it was a touchdown. But whatever. That's water under the bridge. The Raiders, like the Steelers, will now be watching the game at home.
That's right. We saw the Cowboys, Steelers, and Eagles. So one half of this podcast was sent packing.
One third.
I count Debo as part of this podcast. Maybe you don't treat Debo as an equal.
My bad. That's why everyone hates me.
Yep, that's why everyone hates you. Where do we stand on our Super Bowl our draft?
Packers, baby.
Our
I got
Super Bowl draft. Yep. Wilson is down to the Packers. Wilson is down to the Packers. Our listening friend has the Buccaneers, the Cardinals, and the Titans. Brinson has the Chiefs, the Rams, and the 49ers. So only one person is going to go into the divisional round with three teams. And if the Rams win on Monday night, that will be Brinson. If the Cardinals win on Monday night, that will be C-Rad. And then I have the Bills and the Bengals.
Who have the Cowboys?
Suffice to say that everyone is rooting for the Cardinals tomorrow.
I had the Cowboys.
Or tonight,
okay.
I guess. Okay, let's dive into the action. And we will start, of course, with if I can get my rundown to open. We will start with the Cowboys game, the Cowboys 49ers game, which ended 49ers 23, Cowboys 17, a wild ending, a wild game, absolutely coated in I don't what's the opposite of glory?
Ridicule.
Rachel, you're trying to figure out your mic. Hit the mute button when you try to figure out your mic so we don't have to hear it.
What are you trying to say? Not about Breech.
I mean, that game it featured Kyle Shanahan being a coward. It featured Mike McCarthy, the Cowboys being a sloppy football team. It was a crazy ending. I mean, it's probably going to do insane ratings for CBS.
Hopefully. Before you go on, what was the cowardly Kyle Shanahan?
I mean, he kicked a couple of field goals on 4th and short.
Okay. All right, you can go through it.
He looked more inclined to punt. Look, they won, but it wasn't an easy win. And the concerning thing, I think, like the sneak late, where you false start, then you got to take I don't know. They just didn't feel like – I felt there were spots where Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers had a chance to be aggressive and blow out the Cowboys, and they just didn't do it.
It feels weird that the tables are turning where I'm defending this team and you're nitpicking that they didn't win convincingly enough. Go ahead.
I mean, the Cowboys had look, we should probably just get to the wild ending first. I'll tell you what. Let's dive right into the wild ending, and then we will they lost Nick Bosa, concussion, so you would think who knows, but you would think he'd be able to play. Fred Warner ankle injury. It looked initially like it was going to be an ACL.
Yeah, grabbing his knee. That was a lucky. Seems to be fortuitous.
Non-contact too. So an ankle injury would be a huge win for them if he can play. I mean, if Fred Warner and Nick Bosa aren't out there, it's going to be a problem against the Packers. But anyway, let's get to the crazy ending. So the Cowboys, and this is sort of my point, is that the Cowboys ended up on the night with 14 penalties worth of 89 yards on 14 penalties. That is horrendous. I believe, and we can get to this more in a minute, but I believe that those penalties and the ending to this game will result in Mike McCarthy being fired by the Cowboys and either Dan Quinn or Kellen Moore, as Jason Lockenfor has reported, being promoted.
Give us the odds on
McCarthy. Mike McCarthy being fired?
Yeah. Just I don't care about who's hired or anything. Just him.
I would set it at like minus 120.
Breech. Because Breech is very conservative. He's a positive thinker. I know he will not take this minus 120. Is that correct, Breech?
No, I think I would bet it.
What?
I mean, Jerry Jones gave Jason Garrett such a long leash. So on one hand, I could absolutely see him sticking around, but I do think he sounded upset after this game. And, you don't know what irate Jerry Jones is going to do.
Well, but part of the problem is not only do you have all these penalties that pile up throughout the game, and there's dumb penalties too, like bad holding calls, stupid,
defensive offsides, false starts all over the place. Just look like a sloppy, poorly coached team throughout the entire game, shooting themselves in the foot every which way. And then they get to it's a fourth and so the Niners are about to be stopped, and the Cowboys are squeezing their timeouts, and they get a defensive holding call against the Cowboys. It gives the Niners
against Randy Gregory his third defensive penalty of the day.
And that one, I guess you could nitpick, but I mean,
no, you cannot.
Okay, all right. I had friends who were nitpicking it, but he's bear hugging an offensive lineman. Anyway, they get.
Hold on, but I will just say this: the game yesterday with Jerome Boger on Saturday was an absolute doo-doo show. The officiating game in the first Sunday game, some questionable calls with Rosted's crew. This officiated game was there. I had no concerns.
This was all on the teams. 14
penalties, every one, and Eric Casillas pointed this out on HQ. Yeah, I can see why you called that. So yep. I would not put that on anyone but the ill-coached teams.
So then the 49ers get an automatic first down on the penalty. The Cowboys have 2 timeouts. The 49ers run 3 plays. They're melting the clock down. They get it down to a 4th and 1. They call a timeout.
4th and 1 on a fantastic Debo misdirection call by Kyle Shanahan that he literally was 1 inch short.
Yeah. And they had to do a huge, long review, and Kyle Shanahan had to go there because it was we were talking about it was like a 50-plus yard field goal. You can't kick.
At the plus 37, you and I and Tony Romo thought they should go. Breech said they should punt.
Yeah, but Breech is a coward too.
No, I didn't know they should punt.
They line up to go,
Breech.
And Jimmy G rushes the snap and like false starts. It causes like Trent Williams a false start or however it worked out.
Well, Trent Williams started like at left guard. He stood up to move out to right tackle in an effort to
Jimmy G was jumping the gun, right.
To try to get the defense to jump. And then before he had a chance to get set, Jimmy snapped the ball. And I don't think you blame Trent Williams. You don't blame Kyle Shanahan. I think you blame
Jimmy.
Yes.
So Jimmy false starts. It's then 4th and 6. They take delay of game. Did they punt it?
No, the clock had stopped. They took the time out prior. They let the time run prior to the 4th and 1.
Yeah. But
it was down to 24 seconds.
At that point, they punted, and it goes in the end zone, so it's a touchback.
Yep.
So they basically, it's like a 25-yard punt or whatever it was. And the Cowboys get the ball with 30 seconds to go. Excuse me. Yeah. 40 seconds to go. 32 seconds to go.
And no timeouts.
No timeouts. Dak hits Cedric Wilson. He picks up 9 yards, laterals it to CeeDee Lamb, who picks up some yardage, gets out of bounds. Dak hits Dalton Schultz. He gets out of bounds at 9 yards. So they've run these 2 big plays, and all of a sudden they're at San Francisco's 41 with 18 seconds remaining. The 49ers call timeout. The clock stops, so they weren't helping out Dallas or anything. They call timeout, and on the next play, the Cowboys line up and run a designed, we believe, and Mike McCarthy confirmed, although some members like Prisco Anon, believe that it was not a design run and that Dak maybe went rogue, which is just crazy. Dak runs up it's a quarterback draw for 17 yards, slides. They're sprinting up. A referee's coming flying through. He's handing the ball to the center. They're trying to get it set, trying to get it snapped. Now, on the actual play list, it says that the final play of the game was Dak Prescott spiked the ball to stop the clock with 1 second left, and they ran the second off. So that's how it was officially scored. As Breech has pointed out, or Breech, you can point this out too, it looked like the ball wasn't snapped and that they just ran out of time. The larger question is, what the hell was Mike McCarthy thinking with that play call? Or what was Kellen Moore thinking, and why did Mike McCarthy approve it? Because that's what Mike Silver reported just a few minutes ago.
Debo, we want to listen to sound. What do you want to do next?
You can just play the sound if you got it.
McCarthy?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Run this play and still have time to get up and spike it. Is 14 the minimum, or do you go less?
I mean, we call them thresholds, and the field position, what yard line you're at, and what you're trying to get to, too, based on defense that they were trying to, the defense that they were playing. They were in a sideline defense, so they were protecting the sidelines, and so that was the best option to to be able to get the ball. I mean, it's like anything else. Do you want to be running a Hail Mary play from the 50-yard line, or you want to be running 5 verticals from the 25-yard line? So that's the decision. It's the right decision. It's just like anything. It's the execution between us and the officiating spotting the ball obviously wasn't we shouldn't have had any problem getting the ball spotted there. Is that the quote you're looking for?
So
No, that's not the quote he's looking for.
No, Mike McCarthy blaming the officials, of course. And there was an official coming through the offensive line, and the replay showed that he was like 15, 20 yards behind it. But
where he is supposed to be.
Yeah, as the head official pointed out in a pool report, we talked about this last night, how the pool reports work, and it's weird. Now they're giving the main official time with Todd Archer. He said that the official was back there because you have to be able to see if there are any fouls occurring and be able to throw a flag. And I mean, I guess the question again, Breech, I'll ask you this: what was it? Was it a good? I mean, obviously the decision didn't work, but what did you think it was a good decision, an aggressive decision, an idiotic decision? How did you feel about the play call?
Well, I can't handle the smarminess of Mike McCarthy there saying that it was the right call, that it was no, it wasn't, because it didn't work and your team lost. So here I have 2 issues. I don't hate the play call as much as everyone else does, because if Dak goes down 2 seconds earlier or stops for a 12-yard gain instead of a 17-yard gain, then the Cowboys get another play and they get it from inside the 30, and that gives you a much, much better shot than, trying to throw a 41-yard touchdown pass. But if Mike McCarthy was saying, hey, look, we practiced this all week and we knew exactly what we were doing. Well, clearly you didn't, because it didn't work. And so if Dak was supposed to get down a little bit earlier, or, you can't run for 17 yards when the clock is your only enemy. That is on the coaching staff for saying they need to say, hey, look, Dak, you got to go down at the 8-second mark, or hey, Dak, just get 10 yards. There needs to be a target. You can't just say, keep running. And then, 2 49ers defenders come up and he finally falls down. This was completely on the Cowboys coaching staff. And if you're calling a play like this, you have to know where the umpire, the guy who's going to be spotting the ball, is. If he is situated behind the line of scrimmage, which is where he is, you've got to know that it's going to take him a second to get there. Like you said, Brinson, the umpire literally had to run 25 yards because he was lined up 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and he had to run all the way to where the ball was. If Dak would have simply turned around and handed him the football instead of, it's like the center and Dak Prescott didn't know that the umpire has to set the ball. They thought you could just snap it. And again, that's on coaching. Ryan, what do we always say?
Well, I was going to say, what do I always say?
Does Bill Belichick's team make this mistake in this situation? No, they wouldn't, because
Never.
So you can either put this on the coaching staff, you could put it on Dak Prescott. So
why would you put it on Dak?
Because he should have known better. I mean, granted,
they called the play, he ran it. What should he have known better?
He should have known there's only 14 seconds left and he has a finite amount of time and he has to get down so they can get a spike off. So
how do you know? How do you know how much time you have left? Do you have an internal clock that says
yes,
down?
You should have an internal clock on a play
you
like
also
this.
Have like a giant clock, like everywhere in the
I mean, you absolutely have to know what's on the clock, right? You absolutely have to know what's on the clock.
People say they look at the scoreboard all the time to see if they're being chased, but I mean,
right, that's because no one's in front of you. I mean,
so
you have 11 guys.
My point here is that the coaching staff is number 1 to blame. Yes. Dak is number 2 to blame. The play call, although I don't hate it as much as everyone else, I don't like it. I would never call that play. So your option here was to call this QB draw and maybe get off a play, which they didn't, or you take 2 shots from the end zone, 2 shots at the end zone from the 40-yard line.
Why don't you throw a 15-yard out? I know there were defenders on the sidelines. You can still get the ball out of bounds.
Well, and that, Ryan, to that point, if you watch the replay of this QB draw, the Cowboys had guys wide open 10 yards downfield in the middle of the field. If you want to gain 10 yards to set up a next play, throw it to those guys. The 49ers were giving them the middle of the field for about 15 yards. It would have been the easiest 15-yard gain. It only taken 5 seconds off the clock. It is just preposterous how this happened, and the Cowboys coaching staff just looks foolish.
I hate this play.
Remember the first 2 plays, the CeeDee Lamb, the lateral to CeeDee Lamb from Cedric Wilson, and then the Dalton Schultz play that got out of bounds. Romo and Nance were just killing the Niners. They're like, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing? This is terrible defense. They are blowing this. They're giving this to the Cowboys on a silver platter. So the Niners called timeout and they're like, yo, everyone get on the sidelines. Do not let these guys get out of bounds. They have no timeouts. If they go down on the field of play, the clock's probably going to run out. Like if there's a tackle situation, like a full tackle instead of a slide, the clock's toast. There's no chance you're getting it. So they go to the sidelines. And like, I understand the concept of why that draw would work. The problem for me is that while Mike McCarthy says they practice it, I wonder whether or not they practice it knowing, like, do they just practice it? Like,
if you had to guess, what do you think the answer is?
I know what the answer is. Yeah. I like Chip Kelly used to do the same thing, and he would use, I think he would use like college kids or like interns to run in place of the officials, like to pretend to be the officials. But the problem is those kids aren't 80 years old. Like you have to know, okay, if there's X time left on the clock, how many yards can I run for?
Well, that's what Breech is saying, and he's putting some of that on Dak, which I understand. But in the moment, I don't think you can put it. Dak is handling 50 different other things. It's a terrible play call in that situation. And Chris Sims actually said on the NBC pregame show that when he was at 3 or 4 teams in the NFL, the number was always 18 seconds. Like 14, that's 4 fewer seconds than you have to get this playoff. And also, by the way, we've spent the entire season crushing the officials for being terrible at their jobs. And now you're going to blame this 85-year-old dude for not getting to the line of scrimmage fast enough, and he actually did his job right. That is 100% on Mike McCarthy. Combined, we've watched, and I'm including Debo, over 100 years of football. I've never seen that play called in that circumstance and the coach come up and say, oh, yeah, that's exactly what we wanted to do.
Well, the fact that, one, he didn't hand the ball to the official and instead handed it to his center and like try to get everybody. And I understand you're
which
rushing.
Is a coaching thing. You've got to make sure everyone on the field knows the situation. Just you got to get the ball down as quickly as possible. The official has to have it.
That's what I'm saying is that and the fact that they clearly didn't know where the officials would be while running that play leads me to believe that when they practice it, he just sort of says, all right, let's do the crazy draw thing at the end of the game. And they just kind of Dak runs. And then they sort of sprint up. They're like, yeah, we can get that.
They don't have a fake ref in there helping them set the ball.
Yeah, and they don't have, Dak's not looking for the referee. He's not looking for the official. That tells me they don't have the full parameters built into it. They just have guys on the sidelines and Dak's running. And then they see, it's basically like a wind sprint. How fast can our offensive line and offensive personnel get set up after Dak gets down at a certain yardage point, which is probably marked off like in the future. Whereas there needs to be so many more specifics that go into it.
I made the joke on HQ that if you're defusing a bomb, that ain't the play you call, because you're going to run out of time. The bomb's going to blow up in your face, and that's basically what happened. It's inexcusable. I can't imagine any analytics that Mike McCarthy consulted, real or otherwise, suggested that was the right play call.
Did you see the fake tweet that like everybody fell for?
Which one's that?
There was one where like let me see. Prisco texted it to us. He's like, "Oh, guess he talked to the nerd."
It was an analytics based fake tweet.
It was a fake quote from Mike McCarthy that said, it was like, hold on, I got it right here. It was like, then again, this is a fake quote from Mike McCarthy. Never said this. This is a fake quote. We felt good about that. We talked to our analytics guys. That's the play they recommended, so we went with it. Process over results. That's what we always say. And like everybody's quoting like, this isn't analytics. And Prisco, anyway, the point being, shout out to everybody who tweeted at Prisco. He got mad. But like the point being is this play could have worked if the Cowboys
Had a timeout, or there was 20 seconds on the clock.
Or they practice it correctly is my.
Well, if they practice it correctly, they're not doing it with 14 seconds.
But here's the problem with this play, and this is what it boils down to, is that there's zero margin for error.
Correct.
Everything has to literally work perfectly to get this second
even
playoff.
to your point, Breech, if Dak slides 2 yards earlier, that's still only a second to play with, and you're still basically saying, okay, I'm putting it in the hands of this official who maybe can run. I have no idea.
They did not. That's what I'm saying. You can picture how they practice this. They don't take in the external factors, the non-Cowboys factors that might matter when they did it. And they could have run 2 Hail Marys.
By the way, Zach Hinkle in the comments said McCarthy should have just yelled "Mojo moment."
Yeah, Randy, baby. The other thing is
Randy.
The other thing is the Cowboys didn't need to be in this position. That Randy Gregory defensive holding call, he didn't need to do it.
Or the 13 previous ones to that. Yeah,
absolutely. They had a couple of moments where you felt like they were starting to get it cranked up. But overall, I mean, they just
I thought the 49ers kept them in that football game. And
that's what I said at the start of the thing.
But I have a specific point, a specific instance too, actually. And you seemed a little more worried about the false start there.
What was your specific point? Oh, so by the way, Mike,
I'll let you ask a question, then you keep going.
Well, I just realized I forgot it. Mike McCarthy, just a couple more points about Mike McCarthy. He said the quarterback draw on the final play of 14 seconds remaining 14 seconds remaining is practiced each week, and he was surprised they didn't get another snap. He was told New York Review is likely to put more time on the clock.
Who told him that?
I don't know, but when Todd Archer talked to the pool reporter, he told Todd Archer that there was no communication with New York.
Right.
That sounds like something he just made up to save his own skin, because if they review it with the running clock, isn't it a 10-second runoff? So like the game would be over anyway.
If they review it with a running, they run 10 seconds off for the review because it's like you get a free stoppage or whatever.
Right. And nobody had any timeouts left, and it was in bounds.
Maybe so. Yeah, I don't know what they would be.
This is what you do if you are trying to get fired. Like, I don't know what else you could do to actively try to get yourself fired from your job than that play call.
Oh, I think this is worse. I think this is like
worse. What I mean.
This was only the second dumbest play in the game by the Cowboys because they ran their punt team out to run a play on first down. My God. And you know what? We rip on McCarthy all season. I know people would say you're going overboard and this team's 12-5. And we kept saying, just wait. It's going to come back and bite you. And this whole entire game was a referendum on it. I mean, it's a sharp fight. Bit. Yeah. I mean, my God.
Yeah, so they converted the fake punt, John, and then I think it's John Fossil's son, who is a special teams coordinator. He wears wristbands, which drives me crazy. Middle-aged man wears wristbands.
It is John Fossil, Bones Fossil. It's Jim Fossil's
just right. Thank you.
Brother, I believe.
No, I think it's his son. Okay. Yeah, Jim Fossil passed away recently, but yeah, I think it's his son. Anyway, he wears sweatbands, so you wristbands, so you know who he is. But he got the fake punt converted. I don't know who called the subsequent play, but they had the punter line up in the slot on that play that you're talking about, Breech, and they just hung out there. And by the time they snapped the ball, it was delay a game. So they cost themselves 5 yards by goofing around.
And then they didn't convert a first down when they got to so they converted the 4th and 5 with the fake punt. And then after the delay game with their punt team still on the field, that made it 1st and 15. They never converted the first down. They were forced to try a field goal. And the field goal cuts it to 23-10. And that's a situation where you probably want a touchdown after you that fake punt was such a huge play. And then you killed all your momentum by keeping your punt team on the field. What are you doing? And again, that's on the head coach. They have to okay that. If Fossil says, hey, let's keep our punt team on for first down, you laugh in his face and you say, Dak, go out there. We're not keeping our punter out there. We're not keeping our punt team out there. We're getting our offense out there.
They were trying. The idea was to try to get Kyle Shanahan to flinch and call a timeout.
And it was a horrible idea.
Right. That's like when you're Muggsy Bogues and you're playing Manute Bol in basketball and you do a fake layup. He's just going to stand there. He's going to wait for you to shoot. Like nothing's going to happen. What are you doing? The funny thing is you talk about the momentum being sort of stifled there, John, and they settle for the field goal. The very next series is when Jimmy made that awful, awful interception, and that led to a touchdown. They scored 10 points in, I think, 3 minutes. But I want to go back even to just the series prior to the fake punt because it was 6 minutes to go third quarter, the 49ers score a touchdown to make it 22-7, and they should have gone for 2 there, and they went for 3. They should have gone for 2 to make it 24-7. They only kicked the extra point to make it 23-7. It could have been a 17-point game, 3-score game. Instead, they just made it the 16-point game, and it actually came into play on that last drive because if the Cowboys had actually found a way to get into the end zone, it would have been tied. They just had the extra point to win it. Whereas if they had the 7-point lead at that point, had they gone for 2 previously in the scenario I'm talking about, at least there would have been the opportunity for overtime. I don't imagine Mike McCarthy's going to be going for 2 in that situation. I think you muted yourself, or what?
He would have sent his punt team out to go for 2.
Or right. I mean, who knows? We've seen Kyle Shanahan do that. Like weird times, he doesn't go for 2 when he's supposed to. And at other points, he seems perfectly willing to take risks. But anyway, that was my only pet peeve. And, of course, the Garoppolo interception, which was one of the worst throws he's made this season. I mean, that was a game-changing, back-breaking, easy throw that he just airmailed right into Brown's hands.
Absolutely disastrous interception.
But those are my only concern. Like I didn't have any other. I don't know what other issues
you listed 2 or 3 concerns.
Two. The not going for it on the 2-point conversion and the Jimmy G thing. You can't explain that away.
Oh, Kyle not doing the 2-point conversion.
Yeah,
because it would have made it a 3-possession game.
It made a 17-point game, and then at the very end, it would have been a 7-point spread as opposed to a 6-point. When the Cowboys were driving with that, that 40-yard drop play.
I guess he probably wasn't. I think his
probably not, but just in case,
Probably, I think he probably wasn't expecting Mike McCarthy to kick a field goal down 16 points. Is what
also that
probably his thought process was there.
And that was another thing people debated was whether McCarthy should have kicked that field goal. I mean, it was 4th and 7, and they were down 23-7. So you're only down 16 points. You're down 2 scores. And, that was a big debate. Do you go for it because you should be going for touchdowns at that point? Or do you think, there's just under 12 minutes left in the game? Or do you get a field goal? I think we talked about it briefly, and I feel like we all would have gone for it. But it wasn't as cut and dry as it sounds, because if you're down 16 points, you have to score 2 touchdowns plus get both 2-point conversions. And if you miss either one of those, now you have to score. You need 3 total scores. So that field goal takes the 2-point conversion misses out of it. And I think that's why McCarthy did it. So it wasn't
a disastrous decision.
Right.
It's like if you miss the 4th and 7, the game's over.
Right. And if you miss the field goal, the game's pretty much over too.
And even
if you get the field goal, you've taken away 2 2-point conversion plays, which like if let's say they're 52% each, right? Is that, for a team like the Cowboys, 52% seem fair?
Right.
What's Ryan? What are the odds of converting, 2 52% instances? It's
like a little over a quarter.
Right. Exactly. So if the odds of you can go both ways on it. I think a lot of these things with the analytics where the numbers that get spit out, people are like, I told you so. It's like, well, you can make a case for both of them in some of these spots. I didn't like kicking the field goal, but the Niners got an insane amount of defensive pressure on Dak Prescott
without Bosa, and
even after Bosa left, their defensive line was ferocious today.
13 times Dak was pressured, sacked 5 times. That's not good.
No,
that is not good at all.
Debo, do you have audio of Jerry Jones talking about?
I have a little bit of his reaction to today.
Okay.
We all were really the way the flow of the game was going. Then I was the team shouldn't have been in a position for that last play to be something controversial. So I'm not going to make it something bigger than it is.
Got some Kyle too. Look at you, Debo.
So he also said, I'll just say quickly, when he was asked about our buddy Mike McCarthy, I don't even want to discuss anything like that at this particular time. No discussions about anything. I don't have any concern. Oh, sorry. I was reading Mike McCarthy's part. McCarthy said, I don't have any. I was trying to take over both parts. I don't have any concerns. McCarthy said, I'm proud to be standing here today. I'm proud of my football team.
Yeah. And then the other thing that he said was, with this, I'm paraphrasing here, but with this collection of talent, we should be winning. And then he went on to say that, in the NFL, when you have a good team with a lot of talent, the system is designed for the talent because of the salary cap, to matriculate to other franchises with less talent who have money to burn and need to acquire talent. And the not so subtle implication was, we're not winning enough with our roster. And he said, I believe our roster, very, very, one of the best. And that's why I think that Mike McCarthy will ultimately get fired.
Oh, he subtly threw the coach under the bus there. Like, if I'm Mike McCarthy and I heard those comments, I would not be thrilled.
It was I don't know if subtly is the word, but yeah, I mean, like he
had a chance
he indirectly backed a bus over Mike McCarthy about 6 or 7 times.
He had a chance to say, I'm keeping Mike McCarthy. He didn't say it, but he doesn't say a whole bunch anyway. I don't know.
A lot of owners, if you ask him after the Heat, I mean, most of these owners have been doing this for a long time. If you ask them after, there's one of two ways you can go. After the game, after a bad playoff loss, into the season, you're emotional. You've been sitting in your suite. Somehow we only showed him like 2 times. This was kind of weird. Like usually it's like Jerry. You can either one say, I'm not addressing those issues right now, which is going to be taken as, or you can say Mike McCarthy's unequivocal is our coach. And then you kind of back yourself into a corner, and Jerry's not really the type to paint himself into the corner like that. So I'm not.
He also doesn't like to be question his decision-making, because he's the guy that loved Mike McCarthy just 2 years ago.
Sure. I think the thing, and again, Jason Lockenfora, CBS Sports NFL Insider, reported this, is that Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn, and it's interesting because now Kellen Moore is like should Kellen Moore get head coaching jobs? Is he the one?
Don't forget, when Mike McCarthy had COVID and Kellen Moore had the play calling duties, that was not fun to watch.
And also don't forget that Mike McCarthy would not name Dan Quinn the interim head coach while he was out, because he was petrified that Dan Quinn would take his job or something.
He'd scratch interim out of the.
No, remember he was the what was the title? It was the funniest thing of the season, I think, where he's like
program director.
Yeah, he's the assistant to the coach in charge of decision making process guy. At any rate, I think that Jerry is going to look at what happened with this season, the defense's rapid improvement, and his FOMO for losing a guy like Kellen Moore, who, he did this exact same thing with Jason Garrett and Wade Phillips.
How'd that work out?
Well, the Cowboys won a division. I mean, he fired him eventually, but Jerry loves things that he found, and he believes that he thinks he found. Dak, Tony Romo, Jason Garrett, Kellen Moore. He doesn't want to let them go. And I get it. Like you feel like you uncovered a gem or something like that. So I do think if Dan Quinn or Kellen Moore, and maybe it's an and/or situation, get head coaching job offers, that Jerry will consider firing Mike McCarthy and keeping one of those guys as his head coach. Is that a crazy theory?
Well, no, because Kellen Moore is going to be doing interview. He's getting interviewed. What if
today?
If somebody makes him an offer and Jerry Jones really, he's going to have to the old get off the pot, go poop or get off the pot. You got to make your decision. You got to say, Kellen Moore is going to leave me. If I think he's more important to this offense than Mike McCarthy, then you have to give him a giant contract to stay, or he's going to be leaving you. And after this game, do you trust Mike McCarthy to be running the team, running the offense and being the head coach? I don't know that he can handle both those responsibilities. Do
you trust Kellen Moore to run the offense and be the head coach? Because he's struggling running the offense, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I do not. But we're asking what Jerry's thinking.
Right.
Yeah. Like, if it were me and I were making this decision, because I think Dan Quinn is out the door if he has a head coaching offer. I mean, his stock went through the roof.
What if he gets the Dallas offer?
Well, I think that he will get another offer before he gets the Dallas offer.
But Dallas would be the best job, I would imagine.
I would take the Dallas job.
Right.
But then you're also stabbing Mike McCarthy in the back in a Game of Thrones style.
Well, the response is, well, he's going to get fired one or the other. Do you want the job or not?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm probably taking the job. So I mean, my expectation is that, and look, they might end up keeping Mike McCarthy. I don't think Jerry Jones can keep Mike McCarthy if he loses both his coordinators. That is a concerning aspect of the Cowboys moving forward.
I think, yeah. I mean, I was never buying into this Mike McCarthy thing to start with. He had a much better year this year than last year. He had his quarterback. I get all that, but it felt like it was only a matter of time before he did something crazy, like old school. This is what got run out of Green Bay crazy. And we saw it live and in person, whether he made the play call, whether Kellen Moore made the play call, whomever it was. And by the way, we haven't even talked about Dak's comments after the game about the officials.
Yeah, that's right. So Jane Slater of NFL Media was sent a video from a Cowboys fan who was videotaping other Cowboys fans throwing trash, throwing bottles into the tunnel leading underneath the stadium. And the Jane's unfurl of the tweet of the video is that they were throwing at the Cowboys fans, or Cowboys players, excuse me. As it turns out, it sounds like they're throwing at the officials. And I don't think we have the Dak sound, so we won't.
No, he's got it. Deva's got
it.
it.
Oh, well, here's
everything that we put into this day in and day out. Try our hardest. Nobody comes in the game wanting or expecting to lose, and for people to react that way when you're supposed to be a supporter and be with us through thick and thin, that's tough.
They were aiming at the referees.
Yeah, they were at the referees. Well, shit, credit to them then.
That's what
yeah. Oh, credit to them.
Okay.
I have a couple
watching it and hearing it makes it sound better than it reads. I'll say that.
If you're watching on YouTube, it looked like Dak had one long beard because he had a black shirt on and a little beard. So it looked like he had he looked like ZZ Top. Yeah, he looked like that if you're watching on YouTube. And you're right. The way he said it, it seemed joking. Doesn't read very well.
The quote is really bad.
Probably not something you should say anyway after the way you lost that game, because honestly, and I just said this, I don't think you guys disagree. I thought the officials of all the weekend games did the best job. The Steelers game doesn't count because there was nothing really to call there.
But you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I agree.
But the other games, we were like, oh my God, what is going on? In this game, the Cowboys 49ers game, they got get mad at your teammates, Dak, if you want to get mad at someone for making all the mistakes.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah, it was a weird. I feel like he still had a bad taste in his mouth about the officiating because he bumped into the umpire on that final play, which was not the umpire's fault. He's trying to get a straight line, straightest away from point A to point B so he can put that ball down. It's not his fault that Dak and the center and everybody were both in his way. So, yeah, it was a little weird to hear Mike McCarthy hear Dak Prescott and hear all those guys throw the Cowboys from the Cowboys throwing the officiating under the bus, because you can't really blame that loss on officiating. Like, my God.
Do you?
I'm not going to say much about this organization, but at what
He
point?
won't even say their name. He won't even say their name.
At what point on Monday do we get the official Dak apology for the comments from Sunday?
1 p.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m.
I bet he doesn't do it.
I think it's coming.
He's got.
Think so?
Yeah, has to. By the way, if you watch it on YouTube, as Ryan mentioned, smash that like button.
So quickly, just 10 seconds, we can move on. But is this the best job? Should it become available, Mike McCarthy?
Yeah.
You're not worried about Jerry Jones breathing over your neck?
I'm worried about Jerry Jones trying to steal Zach Taylor.
You're safe. You're safe there, buddy.
The Cowboys have been. Mike McCarthy. The Cowboys came into a home playoff game with a chance to make a run in the NFC. I mean, I think it's viable to say the Cowboys were a legitimate contender, and they were completely unprepared. They were outclassed on the field. They were sloppy. They made tons of mistakes. And even the 49ers effort, for the jump street on that game, you're like, all right, I had a substantial margin. I had a lot on the 49ers. I needed
all three of us picked the 49ers to win straight up, by the way.
Right. Yeah. I was kind of nervous going into the game, to be honest, because
I wasn't.
I
had nothing on it, but yes, go ahead.
I had money on the 49ers. I have a bunch of 49ers playoff futures, and some people, some various people that some people I like, I think are smart people when it comes to gambling, had money on the Cowboys, and people I think are idiots have money on the 49ers. So I'm a little panicked about it. And from Jump Street, you could tell that the 49ers came to play. But as you point out, Ryan, there were multiple instances where San Francisco allowed Dallas to get back in the game. It was a little similar to Cincy Oakland, I thought, or Godzilla. Cincy Las Vegas.
2 days in a row, Brinson. You have to punch yourself. That's 2 days in a row. You have to punch yourself.
Well, halftime of the Bengals game, you're like, man, the Bengals are playing. The Bengals look so much better than the Raiders.
You know the difference is, though? Here's the difference. You're betting on these games. I'm just watching them, and I felt good about the Bengals going in. I felt good about the 49ers going in. I felt a little nervous at the end of that 49ers game just because of the way things were going. But for 95% of both those games, I felt like, okay, this game, this is exactly how I thought it would go. The score, it makes it look much closer than it is. You have something vested. I did not.
I was just saying that, the 49ers were a much better team for the entire first half. And they got into halftime at 16-7. It felt like it should have been 28-7 and the game's over.
And the thing is that the game would have been over, except that Jimmy Garoppolo tried to give it away. It wasn't just the interception. He had he missed Brandon Ayuk on the wide open 3rd and 10 play that would have probably iced the game. I mean, we're talking just wide open. And, in the twist of irony, Jimmy Garoppolo being a bad quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo making bad throws in the clutch actually ended up helping the 49ers because the George Kittle fumble didn't count because Garoppolo bounced the throw to him.
Well, he doesn't fumble it if it's not thrown that low, but yeah, I mean, no, I know what you're saying.
It could have been thrown low and he caught it without it hitting the ground.
Throw, Kittle's not dropping that ball. Like Kittle isn't fumbling that ball. Anyway, we've done a lengthy amount of time on the ending of that Cowboys game. So the 49ers moving forward, the line is Packers plus.
Hold on. Yesterday I said
Packers plus, but that's not true, obviously.
Yeah, right. Gosh. 6.5?
5.
I didn't. It's going to be.
Wait,
close.
was that for 49ers Packers?
Yeah.
Packers -5 against the 49ers. Seen some 4.5s. I'm going to bet 5 as probably as soon as I can.
Yeah. Especially if Bosa's there and Warner's there. And by the way, Packers can't stop the run.
Kyle Shanahan, the last time the two teams played, I believe the Packers won. But
30-28 on a 51-yard field goal by Mason Crosby on the final play.
Imagine that.
Largely, and was that this year? That was last year, right?
No, that was this year. That was
this year. Kyle.
Like week 4. Yeah.
2021 and 2020 are always going to just blend together in my brain. The Aaron Rodgers, look at these stats from our research team. 0-3 in playoff career versus the 49ers, 5 passing touchdowns, 4 turnovers. They curbed that 37-20 game in the 2019 NFC Championship. Not indicative of how the game actually played out. Raheem Mostert had like 500 rushing yards. They obliterated them. The Packers still can't stop the run. Kyle Shanahan has done really well against his former assistants, one of which Matt LaFleur is one of those. And I like the Niners in this spot. I am concerned about 3 things. 1, Nick Bosa. 2, Fred Warner. And 3, James Garoppolo.
Yeah, those are going to be my 3 guesses.
Jimmy played well. I thought Jimmy played well at times and then had some just boneheaded.
Oh, he started red hot. If he plays the first half Dallas, second half Rams from last week, they're going to win the Super Bowl. But the problem is you get that 45% of the time.
If you like the Packers in this game and you have live betting available, it would make sense, I think, to hope that the Packers hope that the 49ers get a stop or get the ball first. Because Kyle Shanahan's scripted play calling at the beginning of games is just scorching hot. I mean, that first drive from the 49ers was.
He's also good at halftime adjustments. Like that's how they sort of sort things out when Jimmy's going sideways. And, it's like when you take your kid to the mall and they have a meltdown and you got to go take them to get ice cream to reset. That's Kyle Shanahan. He gives them some ice cream and then Jimmy gets his head back on straight.
I mean, kind of. I mean, I felt like if the Cowboys had found a way to win, we would be having a whole podcast about whether or not Kyle Shanahan should be fired because he blew a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter of a game the 49ers had no business losing.
Well, I was thinking like second half of the Rams game, they sort of reset after Jimmy G started slow and they will sort that out. But yeah, no, you're right. There would have been a lot of questions asked. I don't think anyone's firing Kyle Shanahan, and I've certainly been harder on him than most people. I like how Breech gets all these beer muscles suddenly now that
I've said about Kyle Shanahan. You don't know the second half. I've been very regular with that.
What hoodie is he wearing right now?
He's supporting Big Ben Roethlisberger.
Who else went to Miami of Ohio?
Sean McVay.
Sean McVay, that's right. He doesn't like Kyle Shanahan getting the genius label.
Sean McVay's my homeboy.
Okay, let's take a break. And anyway, I mean, I feel good. This is the path I wanted the 49ers to have.
Well, I don't think anybody wants the Packers on purpose in Lambeau, do they?
I think that the Packers are a better matchup than the Buccaneers for the 49ers.
Maybe.
I wanted Shanahan and the 49ers to get the Cowboys, the Packers, and then the Rams. I think that is a winnable 3 games for them to get back to the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years.
No, I think
that happens. You and Breech.
You people.
And by you people, I mean people of this podcast with me will be issuing formal
who aren't white.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, Brinson. The Packers just play like they always seem beatable. I mean, in December, they almost lost to the Ravens with Tyler Huntley. They almost lost to Baker Mayfield and the Browns. I mean, we're talking about, and obviously it's the playoffs are going to kick it up a notch, but they just, I can't put my finger on it. They just don't destroy teams. They did, obviously the Vikings.
Are you willing to bet against Aaron Rodgers is the question.
I might. I haven't decided what I'm going to do.
The difference, though, is this, and you mentioned it, Breech, last time they played, the difference was that Mason Crosby 50-plus yard field goal. I mean, that's like asking your 2-year-old daughter, okay, I need you to drive me 10 miles to the hospital, not crash, in order for me to have this life-saving operation. That's a lot of pressure to put on Mason Crosby to win a football game.
One thing that I will say about this game, because I had to Google it right away, is that the weather on Saturday night in Green Bay is going to be about 16 degrees.
Run the ball.
The 49ers have not played under like 40 degrees, under like 35 degrees in probably a decade or two.
If that seems unlikely since they played in the Green Bay in the championship game like 2 years ago.
That was in San Francisco, buddy.
Oh, it was.
Ooh.
Up high, down hard.
First dunk of the night.
Yep, that's embarrassing. Why did I think they played in Green Bay?
They did when Kaepernick was there, so maybe that one could have been quarter, but that would have been at least that's it was about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, look, if the 49ers get down big, I don't feel good about them coming back, but if they can jump out to a lead, I feel good about them trying to be able to push it downhill on them. Fun fact, we're going to break. Entering this postseason, the winner of the 49ers and Cowboys matchup has gone on to win the Super Bowl 5 times. In fact, 3 years in a row. 1971, 1981, 1990. Ooh, interesting. There's a lot of ones in there. 92, 93, and 94.
Excuse you, Breech.
Breech malfunctioning.
Here's the other fun fact with the weather. The 49ers so it's supposed to be about 16 degrees right now. That's the forecast. They have not played in a game where the temperature was under 20 degrees since 1985.
Okay. All right. Let's take a break. And when we come back, Wilson will do a eulogy for Big Ben next. The Chiefs. I don't know how this game ended up with 63 points because it was scoreless after one quarter. But the Chiefs 42, Steelers 21. By the way, at one point on Sunday with about a minute left in that 49ers game, I didn't tell you guys this before because I didn't want to. I was tied for second in the Millie Maker on DraftKings.
What would that have paid you?
$83,000.
Right at the same time of year.
First place is $1 million though. And then the only difference in the lineup between me and the guy who's in first place, I had Keyshawn Vaughn of the Bucs and he had Gio Bernard. I was like kind of flipping out.
I got to issue a correction. I got to issue a correction real quick. I was looking at the 49ers.
Hold on a second. Let's finish this story, Breech. You're just sort of busting down the door to tell us something.
Brinson always does that. I am. I got to get it out. That was regular season games only. Including the playoffs.
It was last year, like 2 years.
No,
ago.
it was the Kaepernick Packers game. It was 5
Okay.
years. But that's the only one since 1985.
Nobody on this team is like still on the.
I don't think so.
Yeah, not the same roster.
So anyway,
did you win the million?
No, not even close.
Keyshawn scored though, right?
What's that?
Keyshawn scored.
Yeah. What happened was the if Jimmy had gotten the sneak. Through on 4th and 1. Well, it ended up being irrelevant because I was fading Chiefs Steelers. I was thinking it was gonna be a low scoring game, and then Mahomes threw 5 passing touchdowns, and he's the million.
Oh, so did you finish in top 10?
I made some money, but not like an insane. No, not top 10, not even like top 200.
Oh, yeah. It was fun for a while.
Oh yeah, it was. I have some screenshots that are pretty good. Anyway. The Chiefs 42, Steelers 21. It was 0. And I was like, oh my God, I got this right. Like, I just got to hold on for dear life here because it was 0-0 after one quarter. TJ Watt then scores the first touchdown.
What did that pay out? I mean, that must have.
Did you see what happened to the Barstool guy? Henry Lockwood. He's the producer for Pardon My Take. They're doing this live stream and TJ Watt gets in and he goes, He's like, I got TJ Watt first touchdown 125-1, y'all. And they're like, what did you put on? He's like, I win $3,000. They're like, yeah, everybody's like losing their mind. And so they're like, you gotta tweet out a screenshot of it. He tweets it out. And like one of the guys on the feed reads it, he goes, dude, you bet on Derek Watt first touchdown. So he thought he'd won like $3,000 on
125 sounds awfully low for TJ. That's what I was about to say.
Well, you can't bet on TJ Watt. You bet on
the
Steelers defense. He saw Watt at 125-1 and bet on Derek Watt.
He had the right idea. Wrong brother.
It felt for a second like we were gonna have.
No, stop it.
Oh, come on! When he scored, you were thinking.
It was early in the second quarter, and it was fun. I mean, the offense literally had 4 yards on 27 plays. The Steelers offense.
Ryan, did you think they were going to hold a lead at all in this entire game?
No. So 7-0 was a moral Super Bowl. So that was fun for the four minutes that it lasted. And I'm glad that TJ Watt played, had his moments. I don't remember the last time he scored a touchdown. That might have been his first touchdown. But the way the offense is and the Steelers, they had no chance unless the defense was going to score.
Would you say they had
no path?
No business?
No business. But I was about to say, even if the defense scored 35 points, they still lose by 7. I mean, that's where we're at there. So, people were on the old social media machine were upset with the Steelers defense. This is one of the best games Patrick Mahomes has played in a while. Travis Kelce, one of his best games. And the precision at which they run that offense, especially in the red zone, should be very troubling for the rest of the AFC.
They scored 5 touchdowns in 11 minutes.
It was fun to watch.
That is definitely frightening.
It was similar to the beatdown that the Patriots took, less of a beatdown, but still a beatdown nonetheless. And not one, if you're the Steelers, where you can feel good about what transpired. You got some garbage touchdowns for Big Ben, big whoop. But I think going up 7-0 was fun. And the reality is they had never had a chance. The spread was 12. I don't know what 12.5. I don't know what it closed at, but that felt about right.
Steelers got the line dropped like crazy late. Worth noting, this is a great. Our research department does such a good job with these, but the 7 largest favorites in wild card round history, dating back to 1978, all 10.5. You have the 96 49ers were the first one, 10.5 point favorite, all the way up to the Chiefs at 12. All 7 have covered those matchups. And I think this points to the fact that because this just happens every year. It happened when there were 6 teams on each side. It happens when there's 7 teams on each side. It's like, oh, thank God we expanded the playoffs with more football. So bad. And 7 team is so terrible. It's like, no, you have a 6 seed playing against a 1 seed, or 6 seed playing against a 3 seed, I guess normally a wild card weekend. And it's like you have a 7 seed playing against a 2 seed. It's a 12-point game. It's not supposed to be close.
Yeah, it's like the NCAA's. What do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah, and look, I was dead ass wrong about the Big Ben narrative thing. I regret it.
I started buying into that too. I'm glad I didn't flip on it.
Yeah, I flipped on it. I'm mad about it because Breech. I guess when we were doing the lines last week, I was like, I love the Chiefs.
I fell for it. I fell for the Big Ben narrative. I predicted 30-20, so the Steelers got about what I expected them to. I thought the defense, they played a fantastic first quarter, and then it was like they walked off the field and said, "You're welcome, Ben. Go get your tea time on Monday."
Yeah,
it was just asking too much for the defense to win the entire. Like they went out and got 7 and stopped the Chiefs a couple of times.
17 minutes is all you can ask of any defense to hold Patrick Mahomes to slow him down. Because look, we crushed him early in the year because he kept forcing balls when teams quit blitzing him and started dropping 8 guys. He's patient. He's taking the dump off. And Judge McKinnon, I thought that dude was dead. He came up from the dead and absolutely went off. Played extremely well, and I think that's just a function of that offense. I mean, you could put
another indictment of drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round.
And our buddy Jared Dubin pointed out the same thing as a Cowboys fan. Why are we paying Zeke all this money? Excuse me.
So Patrick Mahomes surpassed Peyton Manning for most career games of 400 passing yards and 5 passing touchdowns, including the playoffs in NFL history. 4 of them: Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, Joe Montana. 3. I don't know if Mahomes is in the Hall of Fame if he retired tomorrow.
Yes,
but if he won 1 more Super Bowl, he would be.
He is
probably.
I thought it was pretty funny that Chris Collinsworth said at the end of the game, "So, Big Ben, he's a Hall of Famer, right, Al?" Yeah, he's going to go into the Hall of Fame. He won 2 Super Bowls.
What are you doing? What are you doing here, pal? Why don't you give us a eulogy? I've got to use the boys room. You give us a eulogy for Big Ben real quick.
It's fitting that you're going to go number 2 while I talk about Big Ben. And his
AK asked me the other day. She's like, "What do you have to do if you have to go number 2 on the pod?" I was like, "Well, you just don't. I mean, you
number 2.
I take the camera with me.
That's all
no, yeah, he's done. So that we'll see Breech what's next year. I think I was thinking about this. 18 years of Big Ben. That's a pretty good run. 2 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl wins. And I was thinking about you when I was having the thought about post Big Ben. I actually am it'll be interesting to see how things go. And it'll be like on some level fun to watch the Steelers try to figure out how to win football games without a franchise quarterback. I would imagine you wouldn't categorize that as fun, given what you've been through in the post Carson Wentz world, pre Joe Burrow world. But we'll see. Like Lamar Jackson, we'll see what happens with Baker. Of course, Joe Burrow, it's in Cincinnati. And now it'll be Mason Rudolph. It'll be, good Lord, Dwayne Haskins. Maybe they'll draft someone. Maybe they'll sign a Mariota or some type quarterback. And it's going to be interesting. Now, Tomlin's shown that he can win at least half his games no matter who the quarterback is. But when a fan base has been spoiled, they get angry and they want much more than that. And on some level, I think the Steelers fans have a right to be upset with it. Like offensive coordinator Matt Canada is terrible. He was one of the worst offensive coordinators they've had in recent memory. And I've been watching this football team religiously for 20 years or whatever. And I think some of that falls on Tomlin. But I think at the end of the day, there's only one Bill Belichick. And you have to be happy with what you have. If you have someone like Tomlin or Shanahan or McVay or Sean Payton. So I would imagine you are happy to see Roethlisberger retire. Not at this point, not the way he's playing now, but the way he was, in the prime, those prime 10 to 12 years.
It's funny because I know so many friends. I have so many friends that are Steelers fans, and I would say almost I had like a love-hate relationship with Roethlisberger's career as someone who grew up as a Bengals fan. I mean, I got to watch him in college. I went to college. I went to Miami of Ohio with him. I worked for Miami's football team. And so I liked watching him succeed in the NFL as long as it wasn't at the expense of the Bengals. I can say this now that he's going to be retired. And, you never really heard me ripping on him too much. I think it's a good thing that a quarterback from Miami of Ohio is going to retire with 2 Super Bowls and get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So it's really interesting to, I told you I was secretly hoping that they would beat the Chiefs on Sunday night, and I wouldn't have minded that at all. So it will be interesting though to see kind of the change of power and the changing of the guard in the AFC North now that he's gone, because it's just been Ben beating up on the Browns, Ben beating up on all the Ohio teams who passed on him in the draft, and he would just beat up on them, and the Ravens being the only team that was really consistently a match for the past 18 years. So definitely there's going to be a changing of the guard, but he had a great career, and that's
what a backhanded eulogy that is.
That's pretty good.
Sure, I'm just kidding. No, yeah. I mean, look, you wore your Miami of Ohio. You were there with it, because you were in college with, like, I was in college with Rivers. You were in college with Ben. I mean,
oh God, here we go. I got to bring it back around.
No, I'm just saying that, like, you go to college with an NFL quarterback who has a 15, 20-year career, and you root for whoever. Like, I was a Colts fan. If Ben went and played a year in Miami, replaced Tuanon, and like Breech would be, kind of cheerful. Breech's situation's unique because he's a Bengals fan who has to watch Big Ben rip his heart out year after year after year. I don't know why I'm not like I've grown sentimental or anything, but I tweeted that I was like, when he threw that touchdown pass, it's like, just pull him. I know you won't do it, but just I do.
Somebody asked in the comments, does anyone else think Will looks exactly like Big Ben from Justin Blee?
There you go. The pic that was up of Big Ben looks similar to me, especially with this black hoodie on, but in real life, you would like if Ben and I stood next to each other, you would not be like, oh, those two guys look alike. It's the beard and the hoodie. That's all it is. But I tweeted that I was like, man, get Big Ben out of here. So his last throw of his career is a touchdown. And most of the responses were people who were like mad at me because I was saying something nice about Big Ben. I guess I'd forgotten that we were supposed to hate Ben. I think I'd started to like Ben.
Why are we supposed to hate him? I get Breech.
Well, let me just say that there's definitely
the general public dislikes Big Ben.
Well, the general public dislikes him because he's got 2 sexual assault accusations hanging over his head, and he had to settle those. And I feel like even me following his career, I became pretty indifferent to him after that because you can't be doing that. You're the face of the NFL at that time, and he had played in 3 Super Bowls in his first 8 years, and he's just out there acting like
a terrible person in the creek.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and that's why, and that's why everyone hates him. And that's a good reason for not liking someone. So
did you tweet that picture?
What
that was from
picture
2020.
So I think he's definitely got a legacy that will be difficult to deal with. When he enters the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you can't just erase these things from his past. They happened, and that's a conversation that the Hall of Fame committee will have. And
I mean, I don't disagree with you at all in the sense that, but we've heard Hall of Fame voters say specifically about Darren Sharper when asked about his case for the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying I agree that they said that it doesn't matter what you do off the field.
Ask Terrell Owens if that's true.
But who
did nothing illegal. He was just
correct. Yeah. Look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I'm just telling you how it works. I'm not stating that it works correctly. I don't know if settling those lawsuits, I don't know if that's viewed differently or whatever, because he was never. Ben is a surefire lock job, no doubt, first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback with 2 Super Bowls, probably the most important, the most significant significant offensive player in Steelers history. Terry Bradshaw.
No, that's right. He is.
People might take umbrage with that and say that it's Bradshaw, but
no, even Bradshaw, who has had a contentious relationship at times with the Steelers.
And look, I thought the whole retirement thing on Monday Night Football was ridiculous. So whatever. I'm just saying.
And you know what? We missed that. We didn't have a podcast after his last home game, so at least we're giving him his proper career send off now.
Well, for people we've had several people ask about this either via email or Twitter or in the comments on YouTube. We will, when Big Ben, and he's made it awkward, right? He hasn't announced he's retiring, which is fine.
Which is weird.
It's weird.
It's like he's hoping someone will call him, or
the Steelers will like screw up and won't have an answer, and he'll have to.
He's going to call McVay and be like, "Hey, remember when I recruited you to Miami? How about you recruit me to LA and I fill in for Stafford?"
Yes, you can make a case for Franco Harris or Lynn Swann. I'm just saying that Ben. Yeah. Look. Anyway. When Ben officially retires, we'll have a Big Ben emergency retirement.
No, he's gone.
When he officially announces his retirement, we will have.
Yeah. No, that was a good run. I was telling Breech while you were gone that it was certainly, it's fun to have a franchise quarterback for 18 years, or at least a large portion of those 18 years. And then I said to Breech, who I'm sure he didn't feel similarly, but I am actually sort of interested to see how this plays out without having a quarterback, how they find ways to win football games. And we got a glimpse of that for large parts of this year, and when Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph had to do things. So it was a good run, and I'm glad that my fanship is wavering. I'm not a hardcore fan like I was, 8-9 years ago, so I can pull for good football.
Matt Boatwright in the chat, and if you're in the chat and you haven't pressed it yet, hit the like button on the YouTube.
What did Matt say?
Matt said we still need a full Big Ben pod. We are going to do a full Big Ben pod. He is making it weird for us by doing the retirement.
He's not making it weird for me, but for you guys.
I'm just saying from a content perspective, he's making it annoying because he's doing all the retirement.
But you refused to do it after the Monday night game because you said you didn't think it was right.
That's a blatant lie.
This is true. I can back up that statement.
Thank you, Debo. As I was saying, are we done talking about this game, or can I add something quickly?
So my boy Ryan Wilson over at CBS Sports came out with his latest mock draft.
Oh, he's supposed to say
every week. I pray.
I hit the wrong one. Anyway, go Tar Heels.
Thank you. Big win over Georgia Tech. Thank you, Brinson, for.
You don't have to click on the Big Ben pod if you don't want. It's going to say Big Ben Retirement Emergency Podcast. If you don't want to listen to it, don't listen to it.
And that will be where we actually just talk about the clock Big Ben in London.
Okay, so we're gonna. For a second, as I was going back through the rundown, I was like, "Oh my God, Debo is intentionally left off Eagles Bucs." We're gonna.
I have one more thing for this game quickly.
Yeah,
Joe Thomas, future Hall of Famer, tweeted this out weirdly. I don't know why he tweeted this.
Totally dunked on.
I don't know why. This is the weirdest thing. He was drafted in 2007. He was the first round pick the same year Brady Quinn was the first round pick of that Browns team. First ballot Hall of Famer without a doubt. I would imagine he's not in yet, right?
No, he is. No, because he's only retired like 2 years ago. Maybe
not eligible.
Okay, but
he's probably a first ballot Hall of Famer.
100%.
Depending on the.
So for some reason, maybe he was drunk, maybe he was just goofing, and he seems like a nice guy when he's in the NFL Network. But he tweeted out, "Steelers, congratulations on your playoff participation trophy."
And he tagged the Steelers too.
I'm like, my man, in 2007, like that's Romeo Cornell coached that team. Derek Anderson was the starting quarterback. They won 10 or 11 games and still missed the playoffs. And that was it. That was it. What are you doing? Like, why would you tweet that? And maybe he was just looking to get a rise out of folks. But I thought that was particularly funny, especially coming off the season that the Browns just had.
Yeah.
Like,
are you not going to talk about what Brett Kiesel tweeted?
Oh, our guy Brett Kiesel, who I love, who was 7th-round pick out of BYU, played there forever.
I think technically a friend of the podcast, but from way back in the day.
Yeah. In fact, I remember interviewed him at the 2011 Super Bowl, my first Super Bowl, right before I got sick. Brett Kiesel said, "Did you ever get one of those?" Question mark. No.
Oh, up high, down hard.
But again, maybe Joe Thomas was goofing. He seems like a good dude, and he certainly was an awesome football player. But it's just a weird thing to tweet out there. Of course, if you tweet it and shut your phone down and go for a walk, who cares?
Zach Taylor's in the chat. He says, and he did it wrong. He said the guy in the top right should be drinking a White Russian. The guy in the bottom should be drinking whiskey, no ice. And the guy on the top right should be drinking apple juice.
Wait, so either Wilson or Brinson should be drinking apple juice?
Also, if you were doing this, you did it completely wrong. I'm the one who should be drinking whiskey, no ice.
Wrong.
Breech should definitely be drinking
last night.
No, Breech, you are the quintessential White Russian guy. And
yeah,
Wilson is an apple juice like maniac.
I don't love apple juice, but yeah, White Russians are gross. That's definitely
something White Russian, except with almond milk. You can't mix dairy with alcohol anymore. I'm too old.
All right, just to clarify, Nathan Graber McCrae says it's crazy that Prisco gets to vote for the Hall of Fame. Actually, Pete doesn't get to vote for the Hall of Fame.
I think he did.
He the
MVP, I think, right?
They took his vote away after Wilson beat him in against the spread picks. That's why Pete's so upset.
Actually, it's. I mean, not to get into it because we're an hour into the pod, but the dynamics of it are really dumb. When they first started doing it, they, because you would, if you lived in Charlotte or Jacksonville, you didn't get to watch every national game. You were traveling around and you just couldn't. When we were younger, you couldn't watch every game like you can now with Sunday Ticket, and so they gave one to people in a region, but you didn't lose it even if you lost your job.
You're right. Yeah, you sort of like pass them down like like a what's it called, like a
no. So it wasn't given to like an organization; it was given to a person.
Oh, I thought it was given to the organization. They passed it down.
So like the Jacksonville vote is still with some TV guy in Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, okay.
But maybe he's passed it on to somebody in the station. I mean, you can designate it, but the Hall of Fame has to approve. But Prisco did not get the. Yeah, we had a bunch of people tweet Pete. He was mad. Anyway, Pete does not have a Hall of Fame vote. Okay.
Also, one last thing. Shout out to Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey's mom. She went to the Eagles game in Tampa Bay, and then she was in Kansas City tonight.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
And I'm really glad the Chiefs didn't lose because of that, because how horrible would that have been for her if she had gone to both games and had to watch both her kids lose?
Imagine, losing to the Steelers team that had no offense on the field.
Let's
hated the state of Pennsylvania for.
Speaking of the Chiefs, let's talk about Chiefs, Bills, and Titans, Bengals. So these lines are fascinating.
Okay, let's see. Chiefs, Bills in Kansas City. Was that Sunday night, Breach? Is that what we determined? Officially?
Yeah. What
Bills is Sunday at 6:30.
I feel like minus 3 is as high as I'm willing to go.
Yeah, it feels
it's
about
actually
right.
not up on William Hill. I'm looking at it. It is Chiefs -2.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Doggy.
Man.
I thought that Vegas would just set it at 3. And just let you decide, do you want to back Mahomes or Josh Allen?
Right.
This is kind of begging people to take the Chiefs.
Here's the thing.
I mean, 24 hours ago, you're taking the Bills.
I was going to say, so who wins in a neutral matchup, Patriots, Steelers? You feel like the Patriots probably do?
Yeah.
So
and for the record, it is Chiefs -2, -115. So if you like the Chiefs, you probably want to bet it now. If you like the Chiefs, bet it now, obviously, because it's not going to go to a pick 'em. It's more likely going to go to 3.
Yeah. Woo-wee. All right. Yeah. I don't know who I'm taking yet. I got to think about this.
I mean, I think the takeaway for me from Sunday Night Football is that, and Saturday Night Football too, is that like I think the Patriots defense is better than the Chiefs defense, and
but not the other night. That I don't know what happened that night. That was as ill prepared as I've seen any team, Bill Belichick or otherwise. So I don't know if that's truly representative. That would have been a terrible Chiefs defense this year.
Yeah, my point is just that the Chiefs, the Bills, I guess the Steelers' pass defense is not terrible. They just kind of folded.
Yeah, I mean, there are no good defenses. I think that so the question becomes how much do you trust Patrick Mahomes to be patient and how much confidence you have in Josh Allen to keep doing what he's been doing.
What do you think the total is in this one?
I have a lot of confidence in Josh Allen to keep doing what he's been doing. And you look at that
I do too.
Chiefs 10-1 since starting season 3-4. Who was the loss to? The Cincinnati Bengals. And you know what? The Bills have.
Who the Bills lose to in week 1 though, Breech?
But hold on, the Bills have just as good as weapons. Josh Allen's more mobile, so I think their offense is probably going to be a little more difficult for the Chiefs to slow down. And the Bills have arguably the best defense in the AFC, and they smacked around Kansas City in that first meeting, and it was in Kansas City. I'm like 98% sure I'm going to pick the Bills to win this.
I wanted to get 3 with the Bills. My issue is that the way to beat the Bills on defense that we've seen, and I think it still applies even after Tre'Davious White went down, because we have a decent sample size, but I don't feel like they played any great offenses since then, unless I'm missing something. You need to be able to run on them. And the Chiefs are not necessarily a great running team, but they are explosive offensively.
Great screen team, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Jarrett McKinnon played really well. Clyde Edwards-Helaire probably back. Darrell Williams should be more involved. Man, I think it's going to be a great game. The over-under, what do you think the over-under is?
I don't know if T-Bus was it 50?
54.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw that or not.
You can't take the under. I don't
and to your point, Brinson, about I would say the toughest opponent the Bills played since Tre'Davious White got injured was the Buccaneers, and the Bucs put up 33 points in that overtime win.
That's right, and they were
Bills didn't play well in that game, if I recall.
It was coming off the win-loss against the Patriots, and they were in the fields, as I like to say.
So they were on a short week.
They started extremely slow in that game. They were getting housed, and they sort of came back.
They came back in a big way.
Yeah,
there are 2 bad losses, 2 bad losses to good teams this year. They lost to the Titans on the road, but that was after they crushed the Chiefs.
And that was where they went for it, 4th and goal, to try and score a touchdown on the final play and got stuffed.
Yep. And then the loss to the Buccaneers on the road after that weird Patriots game. They also got run on got crushed by the Colts.
Week 1. Look at week 1. What happened there?
They lost to the Steelers. Yeah, they have some weird loss. And they lost to the Jaguars 6-9. I mean,
week 1 doesn't count. But yeah, the Jaguars game is always going to be one you point to.
The Jaguars should get like a 6-inch cutoff of the Lombardi Trophy if the Bills win it all.
I was going to say an extra first-round pick, which they would probably prefer.
Or that. I mean, I don't know.
The biggest winners of this game are the Bengals and the Titans, because whoever comes out of that matchup only has to play one of these teams. You could talk me into either the Bills or the Chiefs. I got to think about this one. I think it'll be a great game. You almost tend to want to just fade, just go with whoever is kind of if everybody's on the Chiefs.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Just go, you kind of want to go with the Bills.
This feels like a game that's going to be split down. It's going to be about 50-50 on which way people go.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see how many Bills fans there are in attendance, because they're hardcore.
We don't have the lineup yet, so don't put it up, Devo. Wilson wants to guess it. Did we guess this already? We didn't, right?
I don't see the line. I don't know if he guessed this or not. I was thinking about it. So this is going to be. We didn't do this one. This should be 5.5.
Oh.
No.
Have you looked at Breech?
No, I haven't. We talked about it after the Bengals won last night, and I guess 3. And before the game was set, and I still think 3-ish.
It was 2.5.
Wow.
Which is terrifying if you're a Titans fan. But it moved to 3.5.
I was going to say.
And now it's come back to 3. Titans -3, -120.
Oh, so it got to 3, but it took a roller coaster ride.
It got to 3.5, and it came back to 3.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Right now. No, I like the Titans at this number. 5.5 is where I get a little nervous.
5.5 is you smash the Bengals. I mean, I think a lot of a lot of this game probably hinges on the availability of the defensive line players for the Bengals and
Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I mean, like we're it's Monday right now. We're going to see a lot of practice videos, a lot of reports from beat writers. The Titans Titans will send out hype videos too, I guess. But how does Derrick Henry look in practice? Is he Derrick Henry? Is he, or is he a reduced version? Does he have the strength in his legs? Because Derrick Henry is part of being Derrick Henry is you pick up the steam as you're going through these tackles and you break away from them. And then all of a sudden you're just getting downhill. And if he's not able to sort of run through these tackles, it wouldn't be quite the same thing. So maybe that's what's driving the movement here. I'm not sure.
How do you feel about if everyone's healthy, how do you feel about the Bengals run defense, Breech?
If everyone's healthy, I mean, the run defense has been playing really well for the past few weeks. And the fact that Derrick Henry, there's no way he's going to be at 100% as far as like football shape goes. You just can't miss 3 months of action and come in and get 30 carries and not start to wear down. And usually he's the guy that wears you down in the fourth quarter. And so I think that is an advantage for the Bengals. I also think that the Bengals' best bet here is to win a shootout, because then if you don't have your defensive lineman out there, it doesn't hurt as much. And we've seen the Titans play shootouts. We saw them beat the Colts 34-31. We saw them beat the Seahawks 33-30. That one was way early in the season. We saw them beat the Bills 34-31. So whenever they've played a good team, it usually ends up being a shootout. And I think if it turns into a shootout, that would work to the Bengals' advantage. So if both these teams end up scoring, say, over 24, I think that the Bengals win. But if it turns into more of the Titans completely control the game because they're running the ball 40 times and Ryan Tannehill throws 10 passes and 7 of them are touchdowns, then the Titans are winning. So I mean, we know who I'm going to pick. So
did you say 10 are touchdowns?
No, I said if Tannehill throws 10, completely efficient, where they're like, we're going to run it 40 times. We'll let Tannehill throw 10 passes, and if half of them are touchdowns, when Ryan Tannehill's on, he's going 10 for 10 for 240 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Titans don't lose. So
you want a weird fact?
Yes.
And as the junior draft analyst, I was thinking about this the other day. 2012 draft class: Andrew Luck, RG3, Ryan Tannehill, 8th overall pick. Ryan Tannehill remains.
I think he was the 9th overall pick, but yes, your point is
he was 8th. But go ahead.
And one thing I will say that
he was 9th, maybe.
Maybe I just looked it up the other day. That's why
you guys can steal this stat from me, because we can write a new song that is called Mike Vrabel off the bye. Mike Vrabel off the bye.
Vrabel crushes off the bye.
I don't think that Vrabel, and I'll double check before I write my picks column on Monday night, but just looking at it real quick, I don't think that Vrabel has ever lost a game off a bye or off a Thursday. So any extended break, he has never lost the next game.
I'll tell you this, Breech. I know this because I researched it and I said it on HQ, and they looked at me. They're like, "What are you talking about?" And I had it in my brain for some reason. I was talking about Vrabel. They're like, the Titans aren't involved in this game. He is, I think it's 3-0 straight up and 3-0 against the spread, including 2 wins as an underdog off the bye. Like, Vrabel's a really good off the bye coach.
And looking at it, including the Thursday games, he is 8-0 straight up. I don't have the spread numbers in front of me. So literally with a 10-day break, he's never lost in his coaching career. So that is an added element. But you know what? People are going to throw out that stat we saw there. The Bengals never won on the road. That's all this team heard about last week, was that they hadn't won a playoff game in 31 years. So I think they thrive on kind of being the underdog. But I mean, I'm excited for this game. This is the best matchup the Bengals could have asked for. And honestly, I live in Nashville. If the Titans win, I will be glad to see either one of these teams get to the AFC title game.
Shut up. You're pulling for the Bengals. What are you talking about?
Breaking news.
What?
Debo just said he's going to give away 2 hats tonight.
What?
We've gotten to the number. We're good. He's going to give away 2 hats. I'm feeling generous.
Did you hear what Breech just said, by the way, while you were reading that bit of news? He would be happy with either the Bengals or the Titans getting through.
What?
No. I said I obviously want the Bengals to win, but I'm saying I live in Nashville. I'm around. Like, the Titans are a big thing here. I like watching them play.
Up.
That's the stupidest thing anyone's ever said in this podcast.
It is. It truly
the Titans are fun to watch. I hope if the
They
Bengals
are not fun to watch.
If the Bengals don't make the Super Bowl, I hope the Titans do. How do you like that?
I don't at all.
I didn't think.
By the way,
actually, the Bills were my Super Bowl pick, so I also want them to make it. So everybody but the Chiefs, I guess.
Luke Kuechly, the 9th overall pick. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I was wrong. Yeah. Sorry. I have a bet going with my buddy Garrett where it's we made this bet in 2012. Who wins the Super Bowl first, RG3 or Tannehill? I got RG3, so that's unfortunate.
Oh,
yeah.
Ooh.
RG3 might call a Super Bowl.
I noticed that the chat, everybody's backing the Bengals. Thanks,
every
chat.
B. Well, except for you, you're backing the Titans.
I think it's easier to back a team that you watch play and that look good against a team with that bye week.
But Derrick Henry's the mystery element here. Like, we don't know how much he's going to be a part of the game plan. We don't know how much he's going to play. He has not played since October, and that's such a huge factor that's hard to quantify.
He could be well rested, though. He's not tired. No wear and tear.
But he's coming back from an injury, and he hasn't run full speed on a football field against
Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry is 85% of Derrick Henry,
that's
and
enough.
The Bengals are missing 2 of their starters on the defensive line, it is hard to like that line might get to 4. You know, I don't know where I'm at on this one either. These AFC games are gonna be awesome.
Yeah,
I don't want to bet against Joe Burrow in a big spot. But
all right, Debo says go to break, and then we have 4 minutes to talk about the last game.
And they all go to Debo.
All right, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, Debo will recount his disappointing infinite in-person sadness from Tampa. And did he meet up with Grace? We'll tell you next. I don't think he did.
Was he supposed to?
No. Although I mentioned her on a radio hit with our pal Nick Costos on Sunday morning, and all of a sudden we started getting tweets like I was like, all right, no more talking about her on radio.
Sweet mercy.
I know, right? Debo.
Hey.
How
hey.
So I mean, I would say that if I'm an Eagles fan and I go to this game in Tampa against the greatest quarterback of all time, as a huge underdog, if I'm going to lose, I want to lose the way the Eagles lost, which is like just you're disappointed out of the gate and you kind of rip the Band-Aid. There's no heartbreak. You might be different, but that's my preferred option.
I get where you're coming from, but not quite like that, where there begins to be questions, which I think are unfair, and we'll get into it, about the quarterback situation in 2022 and how successful that this season actually was. Not saying it was the ultimate success or anything close to that, but I don't think it was a total failure. And I think some people are feeling that way because of getting down 31-0. If you're going to lose a game, I think it's somewhere in between like heartbreaking fashion and a last-second field goal and what happened today. The score obviously not as close as the game actually was, or the score is closer than the game would indicate.
Yeah, that's fair. I would, and I mean, look, it was a sweaty.
That was covered, yeah.
Sweaty wager. Breech points out in Slack. Debo didn't send a Slack message for like 9 hours. Finally, Ryan's like tagging him. Dude was like, "I'm here. Just let me cry."
Was Debo alive?
Are you alive?
Yeah, I was
fun drive.
Which was like that 8.5 didn't play. I was like, oh my god.
Hold on, let me ask Debo, are you back in your South Florida home, or you went back to your
in Fort Lauderdale? Yeah.
Oh, you drove all the way home. You didn't get to go back to Tampa. Eesh.
No. Nice
can you
and everything?
How is driving when you're crying? Can you see the road okay?
I wasn't.
Ryan, that's a low blow.
I was in the I was in the passenger seat, and I think the saving grace there.
Who are you with?
A coworker friend of mine, and watching the Cowboys lose on the way back, especially in that fashion, awesome. That loser franchise that their season. The Eagles had a rebuilding year and lost to the greatest of all time. The Cowboys fans were booking their Super Bowl tickets to LA. They were planning the parade route. Oh, we won the division, and their season lasted 4 hours longer than the Eagles. So congrats on that.
And they lost and the Eagles have 3 first-round picks coming up, and the Cowboys lost to the greatest of all time's backup, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Do we have a lot of Cowboys fans in the office, Debo? Like, I don't know any off the top of my head.
I assume it was who's the Eagles fan from the office?
There are a ton of them in Stanford. I think Debo went with 2 other fans, according to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers co-workers that were giving Debo a hard time.
Who's a Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Who's a Tampa fan?
Striker, Jack.
It's a loser. That's another loser fan base.
Oh! I shouldn't.
Debo coming in hot.
My cousin Nan is a big Tampa fan. She's a legit Tampa fan, so I don't want to rip on the shout out Nan. The 31-15. I mean, this was it was like, oh boy. I mean, it hurts. I do think though that like if you take a step back from this game, you say, okay, that was a humiliating loss, granted. But Nick Sirianni in his first year goes to the playoffs. Jalen Hurts flashed enough at various times for us to think he might be the guy, even if there were questions coming.
And don't forget, halfway through the season, Debo was done with Sirianni, and Sirianni figured it out and started running the ball instead of winging the ball around.
But I think at that point was after week 6 and the first loss to the Bucs. It was 28-22 on Thursday night. Again, the score was closer than the actual game. Watching the game would have led. And at that point, I said the Eagles shouldn't have let Todd Bowles leave the stadium. They should hire him on the spot. That's how I was feeling after week 6.
Ironically,
I don't feel all that different. I would take Todd Bowles in a heartbeat based on what he did today to the Eagles.
Bro, that was a master class by Todd Bowles. I mean, he absolutely he was playing chess and Nick Sirianni was playing some sort of low level checkers. He was dropping Vita Vea into coverage. He was sending crazy blitzes. It was
curious that
effort by Todd Bowles.
Like Devontae Smith didn't touch the ball until midway through the second quarter. That was a concern. And I will say
that's mind-numbing. That's so dumb.
Even Troy Aikman, who I know, some people
who didn't want to be there. Who didn't want to be there at all.
Did not want to be there. He's like, what are they doing with Devontae Smith? They're outthinking themselves.
He said that like every 5 minutes too. He would either say, I wish I was in Dallas announcing that game, or why the heck aren't they throwing the ball to Devontae Smith?
So let me ask you just real quickly on the Aikman thing. Like, I thought it was amazing because, Troy Aikman, and I assume Tony Romo does too, live in Dallas. And
I'm not sure.
And so, I mean, I know Aikman does. He used to run anyway, Aikman I'm pretty sure they both live in Dallas.
Okay.
If you're Aikman and you've been calling Fox games for 20 years and you always call Cowboys playoff games and suddenly you have to leave your hometown instead of just driving out to Arlington, like I would be kind of annoyed too.
Yeah, he can go to the bank and cash a check and feel okay
Still
about it.
Fairly unprofessional to complain about it, but whatever.
I was going to say there were, we talked about the officiating being pretty good in the Cowboys game, unless perhaps you're a Cowboys fan. There were some dog crap calls in this game early on. The very first drive, they called a low hit on Derek Barnett. I don't know if you remember that, Debo, on Tom Brady.
I do.
Does he remember that?
That was hot garbage. There was also a holding call late in the second quarter on Jason Kelsey that brought back it was whack. A huge Goddard gain. It was a 29-yard gain that brought that back. Again, no holding there. At the end of the day, it didn't matter. And it was around this time that Brinson, was calling for Gardner Minshew. And a few moments later, Jalen Hurts threw that interception at the goal line there. But I thought prior to that, Jalen Hurts was a victim of some like drops. A
massive Goddard drop.
Yes.
That was bad. Goddard was pretty good today, but that drop was awful.
Huge. And after that, things seemed to unravel for Jalen, for the offense, for the defense. And he didn't play great over the final 35 minutes or whatever. But I don't think he ain't the reason they lost.
And came out apparently at some point was injured. And there was points in the game where I said, Jalen, just like take the 7 yards and run. There was opportunities that I think he could have run the ball. And we saw how successful he was at times, but came out limping, had the boot on after the game. Not sure if he'll need surgery. I don't know if that impacted his ability to run the ball today. But yeah,
they probably should have played if you're down 31-0. And I was saying you play Minshew anyway, just to see if because what were you thinking in the stadium, Debo? Were you thinking?
No, so I caught up on your slacks after the game. Glad I wasn't reading during the game. I don't care what situation that game got into. Minshew is not offering anything over Jalen Hurts to overcome that deficit. You're a first-year or second-year quarterback making your first career start. You're going down with the ship. You're going down with the team. There's no way I'm pulling the quarterback in that situation. I think the experience is way more valuable for Jalen Hurts than any like slight boost or excitement or energy that Minshew would have brought into that game, which I think would have been very short-lived, especially going up against Todd Bowles. I know Bowles didn't game plan for Minshew, but I think that totally would have been the wrong decision in that moment. I think the experience for Hurts, even though it was a bad experience, way more worthwhile than a couple completions from Gardner Minshew.
I was in a group chat thing, and I suggested the Minshew stuff. This is not our Slack, but and somebody pointed out, like, I mean, if you yank Hurts now, you are opening up an off-season Pandora's box where people are going to question, is Jalen Hurts your guy? You have to answer, you're like, why did you pull
And they're going to do that because
anyway.
of Sunday anyways. But yeah, that would have opened up more. And look, like,
you're not doing
we're
it for
talking
Justin
about his
Fields
first
either.
playoff start.
I don't love playing him hurt, though. That's not great.
Yeah, but
No,
you didn't know that.
and I don't know
wanted to
the
bring in
severity.
Yeah.
He didn't look to be
And
limping
he's
until
making his
later in the
first
game.
playoff start versus the defending champs. Last time we saw the Bucs in the playoffs, like Todd Bowles devised something to limit and shut down one of the best offenses of all time. So I don't think we should be surprised that he did the same and more against an inexperienced Eagles, inexperienced Jalen Hurts.
I don't know if you saw it early in I think it was in the first quarter, may have been the second quarter, but Fox did one of those like sort of, lower visual shots. I'm pretty sure that at various times in the first half, he had Joe Tryon spying Jalen Hurts. And
yeah, he's a mastermind.
But I sort of wonder if that's why he didn't run, is he knew that he was being spied back there. So he was trying to stay in the pocket and complete the passes downfield. They weren't being aggressive downfield. They were doing check downs. Like they didn't trust him to throw downfield. The interception in the end zone was awful. It's just too early to. I think part of the problem with Jalen Hurts is that, unlike Justin Herbert's a bad example, but I'm trying to like. Jalen Hurts has been a part of our football watching lives for a lengthy amount of time with both Alabama and Oklahoma and now the Eagles. And so we feel like we have a lot more tape on him or a lot more experience with him than we do.
Noting, by the way, these are the worst wide receivers he's had in that time we watched him play.
Yeah, I mean, he has 19 career starts, a little more than one season.
Jalen Reagor is now worse than J-Jaw.
I mean, his receivers in Alabama were literally better than his receivers in Philadelphia.
It's CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, by relative.
And CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, he had. I mean, Ruggs. He had Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy. He didn't have Ridley, right? No,
I don't know, but he had the four guys that got
drafted. Ridley.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, like, he's ridiculous.
Jaden Hazelwood. He has
a Waddle. Yeah.
I think you can definitely, and you should be critical of him, but also recognize the growth and how dynamic he can be at times and the tools that he has and all the leadership qualities that he has to be a really good quarterback in this league. I know there's the 3 first-round picks. I'm not taking a Kenny Pickett or a Malik Willis or a Carson Strong just for the sake of it to start and stew this new quarterback competition in Philadelphia. If truly you want to move on from Hurts, which I don't think is the right move, then package those picks and go after a real established quarterbacks. But for me, the only person that kind of fits that for me is Aaron Rodgers. Like I don't want to package 3 firsts for Russell Wilson, and I don't want Deshaun Watson.
You don't like Deshaun Watson, and that's perfectly fine. I mean,
right, and the whole everything that comes with Deshaun Watson, I don't want that. I don't want to root for it. Yeah. And then Russ, he's still a top 7 quarterback in this league, maybe higher than that when healthy. But you're bringing in that salary. I think Hurts can develop and be cheap for another 2 years. Aaron Rodgers is the one that you move on if you can acquire a top 3 quarterback of all time, top 5 quarterback of all time. I'm not making a move for anyone else.
He's going to Pittsburgh.
He's just staying in Green Bay. I think Russ is staying in Seattle too.
It was crazy to see everybody kind of turn on Jalen Hurts for struggling. Like you said, Debo, Todd Bowles shut down Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs only scored 9 points against the Buccaneers. At least Hurts scored 15, even though it was all in garbage time. But like everybody just jumped off his bandwagon because of one horrible game, and plenty of people have had horrible games against the Todd Bowles defense. I mean, bottom line is he got to the playoffs.
It wasn't horrible. He was 23 of 43. It wasn't like he went out there.
He was below average.
I mean, that's not great with 2 interceptions.
Yeah, below average for sure today.
Yeah, I mean, the first 20 minutes I thought he was fine, and then after that the wheels fell off. Jalen,
but I'm not.
This was Andy Dalton level.
But it's also a spot where if you told me that Jalen Hurts was down 21-0 or 17-0 to Tom Brady in the Bucs, I'd be like, well, they're screwed. And Jalen Hurts is screwed. That team is not built to come back via a ton. Throw this Richard Simmons clown out of the chat, Debo. That team is not built to come back out of a big deficit because they're a run team, and the Bucs. This is the Tampa Bay, a Tampa Bay defense with Levante David back, and with Todd Bowles knowing he can cook up something against this offense was just a bad matchup it was just a really bad matchup for Philadelphia, I think.
Yeah, and there's the point of, top run defense. The Eagles have run against top run defenses this year, notably the Saints and a couple other teams. Hurts was an issue. I'm not putting the majority of the blame on him. I'm going back to beginning of the season, Debo, and I'm blaming Nick Sirianni. He was outmatched with the play calling, slow to adjust. This may seem, relatively minor on the macro level, but I think the fan base recognizes this. Putting Jalen Reagor back to return punts, absolutely demoralized them as a team. I feel like the organization.
How many punts had he returned during the season?
Oh, he's been the punt returner, but he's been it's hard to be a net negative as a punt returner. Just catch the ball when you're supposed to, let the ball go over your head when you're supposed to, and don't muff it. It's a simple job for a first round pick, but I feel like the organization feels like they have to justify the first round pick and have him out there. If you just admit it, he was a massive mistake. You should have taken Justin Jefferson and didn't play him. Fans would be much more willing to accept that than sticking him out there. There was a point in the game, it was 17-0. The defense was starting to adjust. Punt, Jalen Reagor muffs it. It just demoralized the whole team. They felt deflated after that. Bucs scored quick, 24-0. Game over. Game was probably over at that point anyway, but the momentum was starting to shift a little bit in the Eagles' favor. I have no idea why. And Nick Sirianni wasn't even a part of the organization last year. He has no reason to protect Reagor. And then he kept putting him out there after that. It's just, that was mind-blowing to me and just kind of emblematic of some of these issues that Nick Sirianni has. And obviously going back to the draft mistake, but that is someone. Best of luck in the future. He cannot be on this team next year.
Yeah, and it's tough, man. By the way, thank you for everybody for comments and engages in a thoughtful conversation on the YouTube channel. It's pretty amazing that any human being would have multiple YouTube accounts and flop back and forth from them and just write crap in the comments. Anyway, the problem with the Reagor stuff is when Reagor does something, it's at this point it's almost this cycle where if Reagor does something stupid, it's immediately well, he was taken before Justin Jefferson, and then the Vikings video from the War Room comes out, and then you start getting people who are like, oh, here comes the Justin Jefferson crowd. So it's almost like there's two sides have been staked. It's just impossible to deal with.
They screwed up big time. There's nothing you can do except just admit it and move on and stop trying to force something that isn't there. So
how was the in-stadium experience with the Bucs fans?
Did you guys go on the pirate ship?
I kept myself. That cannon is so stupid. I mean, someone admittedly that I have a fear of fireworks. I think I've expressed that to you in the past.
I didn't know that.
Fear of fireworks.
So this was
stupid ass cannon just blasting off when they get into the red zone, when they score before the game.
No, they shoot it off when they get the red zone, right?
Yeah,
that's a bit much. Because it scares the crap out of anybody who's there because you're sitting there and it's like, all right, they're in the red zone.
Did they run out of fireworks? Did they run out of fireworks?
No, they did not. But I will note, I was in Tampa last night, lost power around 5-6 a.m. in the morning. Seems to be a theme for me. But thought that was a good sign, getting real windy during the tailgate, fairly chilly, felt more like Philadelphia weather than Tampa. Get inside the stadium and I'm nervous about getting a sunburn, and it was absolutely beautiful day for most of the game. Rained for about 5 minutes in the third quarter, but that did not play in the Eagles' favor. And that is something that could have evened it a little bit. Still weren't going to win based on how they played, but you were looking for anything. I mean, Josh Sweat, their best pass rusher, had a life-threatening illness that he overcame
Yeah,
this
what was
week
that
they haven't disclosed, but that's something you got to overcome. And now the Bucs lost a couple offensive linemen, Wirfs and Jensen, so I think things evened out there. But going against the champs and going against Tom Brady, you need some advantageous things to happen in your favor. That was not the case.
Not the case.
I will say that the Pennsylvania teams exceeded expectations this year. Both somehow made the playoffs. The Steelers was a bigger surprise than the Eagles, I think. Even though Debo called the Eagles when they were the last month and a half of the season, he was right about that. Debo bounced Brinson from the.
No, that wasn't me.
Debo was all over. He was insistent the whole time that the Eagles would get in, and they did. And you know what? Nobody expected them to advance. So it's like the cherry on top of the Eagles season Sunday was just getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, and they aren't knocking on the doorstep of Super Bowl contention, but they also aren't like light years away. And I acknowledge the bad schedule, but I think a lot of teams play other bad teams and they don't win 9 games and they don't finish top 7 in the conference. So in a rebuilding season, today sucked. It was miserable. I don't want to go to Tampa for the next 5 years, but.
Yeah, no, I felt like there's certainly a chance for the Eagles to upset the Bucs. There was zero chance that the Steelers were upsetting.
No, a positive season after Dougie and Carson left us last year, and you thought this organization was in shambles.
We could leave on this if we want. What about Doug Peterson in Dallas?
I think
that's interesting.
I love that. Debo would hate it.
Maybe Dan Quinn.
I would rather have Doug Peterson.
I'd rather have Dan Quinn, I think.
Who do you want? You can be the
Peterson
tiebreaker.
get Frank Reich or no?
No, Frank Reich's got a job. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying. All right. We have some hat winners to give away, but before
let's
let's give away the hat winners, and then do we talk about these?
I was going to give. I mean, you guys, I got some stuff off my chest. You were my therapy session for the week, but you can credit the Bucs too. We credited Todd Bowles.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about the Bucs at all.
We talked about the defense.
Let's give away the hats real quick in case because it is 1:15 in the morning. People need to bounce.
You give away the hats. I'll leave. You guys can finish the podcast.
I got to take a nap.
The hat winners are Richard Simmons 2 and Richard Simmons 3. Oh my God,
it sounds fixed.
What do you got, Dick?
My God.
Simmons?
No, I'm just kidding. Richard Simmons and his multiple accounts did not win any hats. However, our hat
keep
winners,
liking though. You might have a chance.
I know, hit the like button, Richard. Dick Simmons.
With all his accounts, there would be 9,000 likes if he used all his burners.
I know. Throw us a bone, bro. The winners are Schlabzilla. Congratulations, yes. Schlabzilla.
I would like to note Schlabzilla was someone who tweeted at Prisco last night, so we got those 3 entries, which gave him a great chance to win tonight.
Oh, that's
hilarious.
And also, YouTube commenting favorite Nathan Graber McCray. It's McCray, isn't it? Is it McCray? McCray is a typo from Debo. Debo's sad. It's okay. Nate and Schlabzilla, congratulations.
That's huge.
Maybe Richard Simmons 7 can win Monday night's chat. We need pink. We need some pink Brinson Sucks hat. On the Bucs, I would say that it felt like as they're throttling the Eagles, that it was a loss for the Bucs almost because Tristan Wirfs got hurt and Ryan Jensen. So you're talking about 2 all
Jensen came back.
Wirfs came back too, which was insane. He was limping,
but he came back for 12 seconds.
Yeah, and then they were like, "Get him out of here." But the fact that they both got back on the field makes you feel good that they're coming back. It felt like when you saw the injuries, anything was on the table. There's also some concerns with the Bucs with the pass catchers because they don't have Chris Godwin and AB. They have Tyler Johnson, who Tom Brady yelled at, and Scotty Miller, who's just not as good as those guys.
Yeah, no, I think that's right.
But even with Tristan Wirfs being hurt for most of the game and Ryan Jensen, I think, missing a few plays before going back in, and even despite the fact that they are down pass catchers, Tom Brady still managed to have a spectacular playoff game, even though he actually was facing pressure. I mean, the Eagles sacked him 4 times, did put some pressure on him, but he's still Tom Brady. He's still hit Mike Evans for 117 yards and a touchdown. He's still finding Gronk everywhere. He's still finding, Gio Bernard looks like his new favorite target when he's in trouble. And so it's going to be interesting to see them going forward, especially if Wirfs is out. But you look at who they might play. The Rams would be trouble with Aaron Donald. Cardinals could be trouble with Chandler Jones. If you have a good pass rusher and the Buccaneers are missing, one of their star offensive linemen, that could be trouble. And they did not have any trouble on Saturday because they were just a better team than the Eagles, but it could be an issue next week.
Somebody mentioned this in chat, and I thought about this for a second. The fact that they put Wirfs back out there, maybe, Antonio Brown was
Wirfs backup was Wells, and Wells got hurt, and basically BA gave him the AB treatment and said, well, you got to
That's what I was saying, is it's like AB's like, they told me to go out there even though I was hurt. It's like, yeah. Maybe he came back on his own. I'm not entirely sure, but
I think Debo report from the stadium. He was pretty aggressive on the sidelines warming up, and it seems like it was more eager to get into the game than Antonio Brown a couple of weeks ago. Was not at that game, but
that's not a little Debo report from the stadium. That's a helpful piece of information that would have been nice if you'd relayed this to us before, because people were worried. And you always text from the stadium. I would say that because Wirfs, I don't believe is maybe his first missed snap of his career.
I think he had played the last 2 seasons, hadn't missed a snap, and it was one of maybe the only one, maybe two or three other people that had done it. But yeah, it's a huge part of that offensive line.
Yeah, huge part, massive. Leonard Fournette didn't play in this game either. Keyshawn Vaughn looked good. Giovanni Bernard was a big piece of this offense. You get Lenny back. Mike Evans was awesome in this game.
Yeah, but if you have a defense that can shut down Mike Evans.
You mean if you have Jalen Ramsey and on Mike Evans and Aaron rushing the passer, that seems like a problem.
Yeah, Rams are a bad matchup. So who do you think the Bucs want to win?
Definitely the Cardinals.
I think so too.
I mean, yeah, I get it, but I'm not worried about Matthew Stafford versus Tom Brady is what I'm saying.
I mean, he beat him once this year.
All right. Bet against Tom Brady.
You clearly lose an argument.
We're not saying we're betting against Tom Brady. We're just saying if you're the Buccaneers, who are you rooting to play?
All right.
If I'm the Bucs, I'd rather play Kyler Murray and the Cardinals than the Rams.
Yeah, so I don't disagree with that. I bet against Tom Brady last year.
It's a defense thing. Although JJ Watt's supposed to be back tomorrow night or tonight too.
Yeah, I mean, what's he gonna do? We talk about
he helps against a run. I mean, it's something.
Well, we're talking about Derrick Henry. I mean, JJ Watt's going to be, I would imagine, less effective than Derrick Henry.
78%.
That would be the high end, yeah.
I just think I would rather play first time Kyler Murray in the playoffs, first time Cliff Kingsbury in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, that's...
Sean McVay, who's been to a Super Bowl, Stafford, who is winless in the playoffs, like Andy Dalton, but...
beat us to it.
I just don't want him to bring it up. Okay. Any...
Good Lord. Hour 45 on the pod.
I don't know how that happened.
God.
Well, the Cowboys 3 games. 40 minutes, basically.
Yeah, it was. And we had to talk about it.
Had to talk about it. Big game. It was on CBS and Nickelodeon. Slime time.
Nickelodeon.
Who got the MVP?
You don't want to know.
Big Cat and PFT rigged it again. They got everybody to vote for Dak Prescott. You got the Nickelodeon announcers were quite confused once again that the losing quarterback got 80+% of the votes for MVP.
Here's an idea. Don't let all people to actually vote for it. Tell them they're voting for it, and they just pick the obvious candidate.
Right. Just give it to the quarterback of the winning team.
Yeah.
Or the guy with the most yards of the winning team.
Or let SpongeBob SquarePants vote for it and let him announce it at the end of the game.
I actually agree with that.
And Kyle Juszczyk got slimed.
In real life?
I think Dak refused it.
The award of the get slime.
Yeah, I mean, he lost. I'm not surprised that he
Trubisky took the award, but that was a playoff game too, right?
Yes. It was.
It's the Saints. He took the award.
They gave him the trophy and put it in his locker. He didn't. But
it was a playoff game.
I mean, and the Saints, that game was never in doubt. It didn't come down to the wire where the quarterback made and a whole controversial play and just disaster.
I think there's actually a podcast where Big Cat and it was a PMT where they went with Trubisky and gave him an MVP award. I mean, the bottom line is while the Nickelodeon game is awesome, you can't have a fan award given out to a player on a losing team because it's just insulting to the.
That's kind of funny, but the first time it was funny. The second time, yeah, you know, you could.
I mean, it was even funnier this time because the way the game ended.
Yeah,
I think Dak gave the award to Cowboys fans and told them to throw it at the refs.
Oh.
Oh my God!
Oh,
Debo just dunking on the Cowboys.
Mike 87 Cush in the chat says that all of Reddit was also voting for Mitch and Dak.
There you
So
go.
it probably rolled over from the Twitter stuff into Reddit, and all of a sudden, I mean, he got 80% of the vote, and there was probably a ton of people watching that game.
Yeah, absolutely. That game was absolutely.
Did you watch with your kids, guys?
No, I didn't watch Nickelodeon. I was watching Romo.
Yeah,
I did. I had the kid, the 18-month-old down here, which is why my mic has been messing up the whole time. But there's the TV, and she just runs around and plays with things. And if slime cans would shoot off, she'd stop and watch, and then run around and pull wires and touch things. I don't know where they go, and so that's where we're at.
Sounds like a negligent daddy problem.
Well, I mean, just let them have fun. If she wants to figure out how the wires work, then I'm gonna let her figure it out.
Breech is someone who grew up in a household with 10 brothers and sisters.
I was gonna go downstairs and tell Robbie about it and be like, yo, you gotta check out this slime stuff. And I was like, he's gonna watch 3 plays and be like, all right, I'm gonna go back to like playing iPad. And then AK was be like, whoa, there's a family opportunity to watch this football game. We're all watching this together. And I was like, I'm just gonna watch the Romo version up here.
We'll catch the replay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I recorded it. All right, that's it for the pod. 2 hours on 3 games on Sunday. It was a good time, man. Good chat. We will be back on Monday night to wrap up.
We'll be back in 20 hours.
Yeah, we'll be back in less than 24 hours to wrap up Super Wild Card Weekend. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Smash that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And, of course, hit a 5-star review if you are on Spotify. Thank you wherever you listen. We will talk to you guys later.